What's going on, guys? PC here, and welcome to another episode of Answer This. Today's question is, what are some meh games that you like? And what exactly do I mean by meh games? Well, they aren't necessarily bad games, but they're games that, say, the average person would see in a thrift store for $1 and pass it over without giving it a second thought. These are just kind of generic games that aren't anything special, but for one reason or another you actually like them, whether it be nostalgia or for some reason you just really like it. I have a few games that meet this criteria, and the first one I have is Madden 2003 on the PlayStation 2. And you may ask yourself, why do I like this game? What makes this so special? Well, I'm not a big fan of football games, or football in general for that matter, but this is the first game I ever played on the PlayStation 2, and that is the main reason I like it. I remember being really impressed with the graphics when I got it. I mean, it was the only PlayStation 2 game I had when I bought it, because it came with the system and I hadn't gotten any other games at that point. But I remember being impressed with the graphics. It's a good showcase for the PlayStation 2's graphics, as with most Madden games, which usually go for graphics over pretty much everything else. But yeah, it's a fun game though. I didn't really play the actual football mode all that much. But they had a, it's called the mini camp mode, where you can basically train and practice actual throwing and different things like that. And I remember one mode where you could throw a football into basically targets, and you can get a certain amount of points, kind of like darts with football. And I remember that being pretty fun. They also had a kicking practice game where you could kick the ball through the goal and try and get, I think it was as many as you could through the goal in a certain amount of time. And I remember those being pretty fun. So yeah, that's the first meh game that I like. So the next meh game that I like is not one that I actually own anymore, but I remember playing it a lot as a kid, and that is Monopoly on the Game Boy. There's nothing particularly special about this version of Monopoly. It's just your generic Monopoly video game. But I really like Monopoly, and I just really love that game. I played it a lot. I always played it against the CPU player. I think there was a multiplayer mode in it, but I always played against the CPU players. I remember playing it in the car a lot, on car trips and whatnot, and I would always try and win as big as I could. I didn't want to just win, I wanted to dominate. Basically, I tried every time usually to try and buy every single lot and build a hotel on every lot. And normally the CPU player would just give up if you own too many properties, you take too much money from them. So what I would do is I'd actually go into a trade and just basically give him a bunch of money for free so he wouldn't give up, and just try and build as many properties as possible. And so yeah, I pretty much loved to dominate at that game. But I remember having a lot of fun with that, and I really like the game. There's nothing special about it, it's Monopoly, but yeah. So the last few games I have on this list are games that a lot of you probably will say, why? Because I've seen reviews of these online, and a lot of people seem to hate them. Maybe because it's just not their cup of tea, but I actually don't think they're that bad. But there's a very specific reason that I like these games, and I'll get into that in a second. But the games are, and they all fit into a certain category, so I'm putting them all together. And those games are game show games for the Sega Genesis. That includes Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and Family Feud. And these games I like for a very specific reason, and that is because they're very nostalgic for me, and I have a lot of memories of playing these with my grandmother, who was a big fan of game shows in general. She'd watch them on TV all the time, and I used to play these with her. So they're very nostalgic for that reason, and they're actually not that bad games. I like them. They're game shows. Not everyone is going to like them, but there's nothing particularly wrong with them. I mean, yes, in, say, Jeopardy, you have to be very specific about your answers. Or actually, it's Family Feud, I think they're both. But, yeah, I mean, they're competent games, and I actually enjoyed playing them with my grandmother back in the day when I was a kid. So, yeah, those are my last games I have in this list. I want to know if you have any games like this, any games that you would describe as probably meh, or the average person would anyway. Why do you like them? Are they nostalgic to you, or maybe you just like them for some other reason? And let me know in the comments down below, or do a video response. I know YouTube has discontinued the video response feature, but if you want to do one, just send me a message with the link, and I will put the video link in the description below so anyone can check them out. But anyway guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please comment, rate, subscribe, and thanks for watching.